Everybody, welcome to the show. We barely got us on the air there, Julia. A couple minutes late. Sorry for that. Hello, Andrew McIrvin. Daniel Grun. Daniel's in Germany, Augsburg, Germany. Big fan of the German Sail GP team. Andrew, I assume you're in the UK, maybe in Cowes, maybe in London. Bob Walker, good afternoon. Bob's been on here regularly. Makes 3 in a row for me. Yes, Bob, welcome. And Wingrove is saying the Transpac start should be underway now. Yeah, at least some of the slower boats will be starting today. Chris Exley, well done, good sir. Alistair Murray, good eye, down there in Sydney, where it's 06:05 on their Wednesday morning. Training to win, that's John Emmett. He made it. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. Pedro Foiling Sailor is on as well. Steve Adkins says it's summer now in New England. That's nice to hear. Graham Sweeney is on. Good evening, all from sunny orca-loving Shetland. Are there more orcas up there now, Graham? What the hell is going on with the orcas? Galveston, Galveston is checking in via Jonathan Frank. Morris Stevens in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Tier DeYoung down in sunny SoCal. Chris Exley is at BR. He's back from Block Island Race Week, which was some awesome racing and a really good time. That Block Island out in Rhode Island Sound, off the south coast there of Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Homchick's on and a bunch of others joining us for this show number 630. Julia.
Hi from Cape Town to Ted Ryman.
Ryman's on?
Yep.
Nice to have him. I'm your host, Tom Eamon, my co-hostess, if that's the right word, co-host and coordinating producer, Julia Vatican. How are you?
I'm all right.
Any news? Any hot tips?
I'm
going to wind this music down.
Yeah. Not really.
No, not really. We're live from the Beach Street Yacht Club, as usual, Studio B. We will be in the Michigan studio, I will anyway, on Friday. So we will do a Friday show. No show next Tuesday because it's our 4th of July, and I better go to a family barbecue and hang out with family since I'm going to Michigan. And then we'll talk some more about the schedule after that. Welcome, everybody. That you saw on the cover slide, that image is from the Associazione, there we go, Vela Lago di Ledro. We're going to be interviewing Jeffrey Petersen, for the Road to the Governor's Cup, episode number 1 here in a few minutes. Andy and I interviewed Jeffrey on Sunday, where he had just wrapped up this World Match Racing Tour event there at AVLL. It's a little lake off the northwest tip, really corner of Lake Garda in Alpine Lake there in northern Italy. It's a beautiful little lake. I've not been, but everybody who has says it should be a bucket list type place that you should go. Have you been?
No. Garda, I stayed at Garda for a couple of summers.
Indeed. And Como, which is next door to the kind of the northwest. Right. And then Meg, my daughter Meg, went to college, uni, in Lugano, just across the border in Switzerland, Lago di Lugano. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is show number 630. It was an interesting weekend, wasn't it, Julia?
Yes.
Huh? I didn't know whether to make these winners or losers or croutons, but this was the scene there in that military district, that town in southwest Russia. And this guy, Prigozhin, what's the problem, Julia? Oh, you want to see your screen up. I better get your screen up here. She can't see the bloody slides. I told you we were a little rough getting, you got it
Perfect.
now? Yeah, we were a little rough getting on the air today. And I'll tell you why when we get to the video that I finally made work. It will work, I think, knock on wood. But this guy, Prigozhin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, is he a dead man walking? I can't believe that Mr. Putin, President Putin, dictator Putin, is going to allow him to stand much longer, whether or not he's in Belarus, another
It may
issue.
be the reverse is true, too.
Well, who knows? But why he stopped his march is, it's a small group of this Wagner group's a small group, but all sorts of speculation, a lot of talk back and forth with the Fozy over the weekend. And one thing maybe good out of all this, you have to wonder, and I ask you now, is it correct or croutonic, as some of the Fozy have asserted, that this is, in the next slide, this courtesy of U.S. Sailing, this beautiful photo of a blue and a yellow spinnaker, is the war, with a capital W, the war on Ukraine, is it all but over? Is it all over but the shouting? Is that correct or croutonic? There are a lot of people saying that's the case. What do you think, Julia?
I doubt it.
You think this is not over? You think we're going to see more of this?
Unfortunately, I do. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, we shall soon see. What do the rest of the Fozy think? Let's hope it's over. Obviously, we're not going to know, but let's hope it is over. And at least, all
it's
over.
It's going to take 50 years to get Ukraine put back together.
Well, of course, but that everybody will be in there, and it'll help the economies of the countries that are rebuilding Ukraine with our government money and others, probably some EU money. I'm with Julia. I doubt it, too, Clark is saying. Yarvahe is saying, he just heard that Robin Asher died. I had not heard that. That's sad news. Robin, one of the great titans of the sport, and IYU and ISAF, representing the UK, was vice president for years. By the way, George Andriatis from Greece, another titan from that era, also passed away in the last couple of days. We will do some memory, a remembrance for both of them in due course. What else is going on here in the comments? Is Prigozhin's his first name, I got to go back to that picture. Where is that picture of him? Is Prigozhin's first name Uncle Fester? You remember Uncle Fester?
Yes, but he's,
in the Munsters, wasn't it?
I didn't.
Was it the Addams Family or the Munsters?
I actually didn't. I've never watched it.
Oh, those were good shows growing up. U.S. companies will be in like a shot to help rebuild. Yep, I agree, John Emmett. This will go on as long as the military-industrial complex wants it to. I totally agree, Jonathan Frank. I had that conversation as a classic liberal myself. I remember when I don't remember Eisenhower saying it, but I studied that at poli-sci undergrad at Michigan. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. Not true, more war. Paul Homchick thinks. Headline, Russian dogs bite the hand that feeds them. Well, Karen Robertson. Hey, we haven't seen you on in a while, Karen. Welcome. Putin is shaking in his boots, Ryman thinks. Prigozhin was not anti-war. No, he was not anti-war. It's unbelievable that this guy, first of all, did the march. I wonder, all I can think, Julia, I had a long talk today with, I won't say who, but a senior serious person who is either a spook or a former spook.
Yeah. Lived
in Moscow for a long time, now lives in, I won't even say where. And apparently not the generals, because this guy Prigozhin was highly critical of the generals.
Yes.
But apparently Prigozhin was expecting the colonels, the people who really run the show, the battalion commanders, to back him and to go against the generals and Putin. He was going to march up there and the army was going to lay down its arms.
Right.
And back Prigozhin, who was then going to topple Putin and the generals. But obviously that didn't happen, and we'll see if he, in fact, is a dead man walking or not. So I guess we've pretty well done the correct.
He's got a pretty good popular following in.
Well,
in
it looked like it, didn't
Yeah.
it? Everybody, of course, I'd want my selfie taken with him too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I were there. But you all don't seem to think, most of you don't think this war is over. I hope it is. Hello, Christine Gribben. She's in Chicago. She was up in Sheboygan at the Rose Cup over the weekend. Nice to see Christine, who's, of course, the esteemed chair of the Gov Cup. We're going to celebrate the Gov Cup today. Serious happening when he shot down 6 helicopters and a plane on the way to Moscow. Yeah, he did indeed. I also heard this morning, I don't know if you all, and I don't want to dwell on this too much. Well, I do. It's Sunday, I thought this was going to be the biggest deal in our lifetime since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I know.
But I just hope that it was not the fact that Mr. Putin said, hey, you keep going, and I've got nukes. I got tactical nukes. And as somebody said to me, yesterday, tactical nuke is still a nuke.
Yeah.
And whether they're in suitcases or whether they're in a tank or something else. Yeah. So who knows? I hope it's over. I hope our friends in the Ukraine can start to, if not today or in the next few days or week, can start to rest a little more easy. As I hope this war is all over. But the shouting. But a lot of you are skeptical. Any other last comments, Julie? You want to wrap this up?
No, I think it'll be a while before we know for sure. And anymore, I don't think we know anything for sure.
J. Frederick Bland, who's was in our, I keep saying this, he's a submariner who graduated from our Naval Academy. He says Putin wouldn't nuke his mercenaries. Well, that was his private army, really.
Yeah.
Novichok, Chris Exley is saying the poison is in Prigozhin's future. Let's go to more interesting and sport-related things. That is Andrew McIrvin. He's saying very sad that both these great titans of our sport, who I am proud to have known, as am I, and I spent a lot of time with Robin and with George Andreatis and Robin Asher when I was the head of the U.S. delegation for a dozen years. And they were both VPs, and the late great Ding Schoonmaker and King Constantine and King Harold, and we all hung out. We'd work hard all day and negotiate and do deals. And then we'd go to dinner. At least a few of us would. And I often played the guitar, and they all sang. Not so much George Andreatis, but sometimes Robin Asher would sing. And we'll have some remembrance of them. Great guys, great leaders, titans, as both Andrew.
Transpac start underway now?
Yeah, we think so. There's Rick Manro checking in from Soupy Stormy, Connecticut. Yeah, I think the slow boats. I think they start in 3 waves in Transpac. It's been a bit of a controversy as to whether or not you would start everybody at once, which means they get out to, it's more interesting and you kind of know where you are vis-a-vis the entire fleet. And they're all more or less sailing in the same weather, not quite.
Yeah.
But when you get out there, the fast boats are there. They're already home. There's no big grand parties.
And the parties at the end of Transpac are legendary.
Well, and you've been there.
Yeah, for 100 times.
You've been there. The party girl that you are, Julia.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, do you know what day it is today?
Oh, I forgot to look.
Well, there's a hint there underneath. I've been putting this...
Catamaran Day.
Catamaran Day. There's another hint. Does anyone know, any of the FOSI, any of you on here? By the way, FOSI, for any newcomers on here, means Friends of Sailing Illustrated. Everyone's welcome, not just the FOSI. But here's your hint. What is today? What do we celebrate today? There were some croutonic things like World... I don't know. I even looked tomorrow for the 28th in case something, where it's the 28th down under, there was something interesting, but I couldn't find anything. Almost skipped it. And then I realized that in Bermuda in 2017... the America's Cup was just over. In fact, it ended on the 26th. And do you remember this? Do you see this scorecard? You remember it started out because of that
-1, yeah.
That ridiculous scoring system where you carried a point or a negative point. Instead of giving the Americans a point up, you took a negative point in if in the pre-regattas you weren't on top. Whoever the 2 finalists were, right. Obviously it was going to be Oracle would be 1. Golden Gate Yacht Club / Oracle Team USA. And then the other team going in this case, the winner of the Challenger Selection Series, the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron's representative team, ETNZ, because they were lower in in the preliminary regattas.
Yeah.
They went in with a -1. You talk about confusing.
I know.
The run-of-the-mill, the punters, anybody who wanted to come in and take a look at our sport. But I forget, how soon one forgets. All those races that were won in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, counting that -1 to get them to 0, before Oracle finally won on June 24th, the second race in the afternoon, made it 4-1. And then, of course, after that, there was no big comeback like in 2013. ETNZ, very strong performance, won races, well, whatever the races were.
5, 6, 7.
6, 7, and 8. Right, because it
5,
was
6,
that. No, 6, 7, and 8. Those are the wins. 5, 6, 7.
Oh.
But remember that first race counts too.
Oh yeah.
So that was actually race 1, and so it was really 8 races to get to 7 points because of that negative. Ridiculous, crazy stuff. Why do we do that?
I don't know.
So what is today? Today is the day after. The day after Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron ETNZ won AC-35 in Bermuda. The scenes were epic. It was a lot of fun. And Bravo Zulu to them. This is kind of a strange picture. That's Matteo Denora in their middle, the big backer of the team, the Italian backer, and along with, of course, Mr. Dalton, who runs it, still does. And Glenn and the rest of the gang are, they should be proud, but that was what happened yesterday. They were celebrating. ETNZ won AC-35 over Otusa 7-1. It really was
awful.
8-1 because you count that first negative thing. Well, it did bring us Sail GP, Jonathan Frank says. Yeah, go the Cyclers, Steve Gruber says. We got the Cyclers back. We went 2021 without them, and now we got them back for this next one. 2013 started negative. Yeah, indeed. That was Mark Orton Reed points out. Started -2, but that wasn't because of a scoring system that was designed. It was because the jury penalized them 2 points. That is Otusa for that. I don't want to get into that. I know what day it is. It's my wedding anniversary, Alistair Murray says. Congratulations,
happy
Alistair.
Anniversary, yeah.
Isn't that nice, Julia?
Yes.
Bill Wingrove, a crouton took the cup to Bermuda and another crouton took it to Barcelona. Well, he took it back to Auckland, and then they took it to Hydros. No, that was here, Jonathan Frank. Hydros was here, and that's that picture over Julia's. Point to that picture over your right shoulder, Julia.
Up there.
Yeah, it's like that picture by Jonathan Frank, the painting that we have here in Studio B, very proudly. Bravo Zulu to ETNZ to the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron on their win. 6 years ago. Already 6 years ago.
How can that be?
I don't know. And of course, we started this show a couple weeks after that.
Yeah.
We were doing those pre-shows. We've talked about that. So our 6-year anniversary is coming up as well. By the way, speaking of anniversary, if you want to support us, that's what keeps us on the air. It is viewer-supported media. We don't have very many sponsors, precious few. Every now and then, somebody comes on who's generally a FOSI who wants to promote something. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated is the way you can become a patron and support us with $1 or $2 or $5 or more per month.
Or 5,000.
Or 5,000 a month. A month.
Oh, yeah.
Would we take that?
I take that.
I don't know, but then we'd probably be beholden to that person who gave us so much money.
Yeah.
Per month. 1,000 a month, I think we'd. Okay, right?
No.
Support us. Become a patron, please, and keep us on the air here. And let's get moving forward. Show number 630 for the 27th, Tuesday the 27th. Again, no show on Friday, but no show next Tuesday, the 4th of July, our holiday. Okay, we wrap up the A block and get to Coach's Corner with Super Fozy and his nice theme song. Esteemed Olympic coach and Super Fozy John Emmett, who once again is on the move. But before we do that, let's watch his video from the wrap-up video he did with this young German sailor, just a delightful kid, who won the ILCA 6 or 7, I can't remember, at Kiel Week. Let's have a look.
So ILCA 6 champion,
6.
Kieler Woche. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, it was a very tough week with a lot of up and downs, especially on the third day. But I think it's part of the game, and Yeah, I managed it pretty good, so I'm really happy with the result.
You
at the
can't.
end.
You managed it pretty good. You can't get better than winning. We have an expression in English. Doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile. But can you tell us your name? I'm not
Yeah.
very good with foreign names, and when we'll talk a little bit more about the regatta.
Yeah, okay, I'm Paul Ulrich, 16 years old, from the Zwischenander Segelclub. It's in the north of Germany too, but a bit more in the east. Yeah.
So that's really good to know, because I'm sure people will be following your progress. I mean, you're a young man. I guess you're looking at doing Ilka 7 in a few years' time. But back to this. Yesterday, TV course, it was pretty tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, the wind was changing a lot, especially from the direction and from the amount of pressure we had. So it was a hard day for me with not the results I hoped. So it was tough, but I think in the end it was pretty good that we sailed the last 2 days in finals, because then I could sail against the real opponents. And
I mean, it's 3 times harder, more or less. I mean, just getting off the start line suddenly seemed a lot more difficult.
Yeah, of course it's more difficult, but it's a battle between the boats that are important and not a battle, and the boats are not there. So yeah.
I mean, I felt they did very well to get as many races in as they can. I mean, for me, it was pretty late finishes, but that's Kiel Week. They get the races done when they can. Approach for today?
Today, the wind was perfect for me. I enjoyed the conditions.
I was jealous of your hiking.
It was. I trained a lot in the last few months here, so
It shows.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I enjoyed the day. I like the conditions that are one of my favorite conditions, so I enjoyed the day.
Yeah, well, it's always easy to enjoy when you win. What's next for you?
The Warnemünder Woche. It's next weekend, so not a long break, but I think enough time to recover. So, and then the highlight of the season is the European Championship in Poland.
Where's that?
In Poland. I
was hoping you were going to pronounce the name for me.
In Gdynia. And that is the main regatta of the season.
Brilliant. Well, wishing you very best of luck, and we will follow your progress in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, a bit of an abrupt ending there, but a terrific young guy. Hell of a, he's only 16.
Yes.
Very composed, and of course he's presumably not ESL, and he pronounces those Polish names well as well.
Yes,
Speaking of
I was
Poland,
very impressed with his language.
I was too. Speaking of Poland, before we go there, I just want to note that John actually sailed. I didn't realize this. He was sailing in this Ilka 6 Kiel week. I thought he was just reporting and coaching and whatever. He actually raced in that, and he almost won it. He had one bad day but the fact it was the day they put the camera on his boat, and he said he said maybe it was stage fright. I doubt it, but he just had a tough day, and he finished 4th out of 146.
Yeah.
You see that in the upper left corner there of that?
Mm-hmm.
So bravo Zulu to John, a modest fellow that he is, and thanks again for his continuing reportage. Now, he has moved over to Poland, which is, there's a couple things going on. There's the Worlds are going on. He was in Kiel, and then he's moved over to a town called, I went on pronunciation.com this morning, and you'll see here in the lower third, it's Dziewiznów, I think. Dziewiznów. It's like a G and a GH at the end. Dziewiznów. Okay,
I'm proud of you.
I won't even try any.
No.
5-hour drive, and he's over there on the Central Baltic Sea, or at least inside there, where they are racing the Ilka 6 Youth and Men's World Championships starting in 4 days. They're in registration and measurement, and they're going to be doing a little coaching and so on. Coaches Regatta, as they call it. And then the gang moves over to Gdynia, further to the east, for the Europeans, I guess, another big event that's going on there in another week's time. So Poland is Polish is on everybody's tongue at the moment. There are fully 375 entries from 48 countries at this regatta. John is also racing. He tells me this morning. We talked this morning
Is he?
briefly. Yep. He's also racing, and he's in the men's division because normally, remember, the Ilka 6 is women and youth, and guys like John who are either older or are lighter. They're just lightweights compared to some of the great big Olympian type guys now sailing the Ilka 7. So he's racing in the Ilka 6 men's world championship. 16 men from 14 countries. Guess a couple, 3 from the UK. So we wish him well, and he issued this report from that regatta this morning.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. You now join me in Poland. It's a rest day, mainly because it looks very windy. Yesterday we just packed up and drove from Kiel, which was a fantastic week. Did a bit of a schoolboy error, left my boots there, filled up with fuel at first petrol station, and coffee for John. That's definitely fuel for me. Realised that we'd left something and had to go back. So after all the years of campaigning, need to make sure fully focused, but really good event now in Poland. Not saying today, very windy day. So time to catch up on a little bit of admin. Not doing the walk and the talk, because it may not be obvious from the background, but it's very windy here, so it's one extreme to another. So good opportunity to catch up on things. And if you haven't done already, please like, share and follow, so you get these bi-weekly reports. So as I said, Kiel was a good regatta for me. Very strange still to be racing at the moment so much rather than coaching. And I think it's important to have that goal in life. And I found out recently that I didn't actually get the head coach job for Hong Kong. That was one of the roles I applied for, because I thought with Lily's involvement with Asia, my involvement in the UK, then it was a really good fit. And I do feel I've moved on from the situation of just wanting to help one person to want to help many. We only live a short life, and you want to achieve as much as possible. And that goal-orientated approach is very important to me, and interested to work with other classes. So applied for the head coach role, thinking that was something I could really add benefit to, and was, quite looking forward to a new challenge. But was in Kiel and chatting to a good friend of mine, Harris, who was coaching for Cyprus, which is another small island nation. And I said to him, I applied for this head coach job, and I haven't heard anything from Hong Kong. And he said, I got that. So it's funny how you learn things. But it's been, a successful time and nice to be out on the circuit. And I think, it's always better to do things you regret, sort of sitting still and not taking opportunities a lot. And jumping back in the boat, I was looking at the North sails and the Hyde sails, and there's definitely differences. And, it's a big learning experience for me. And it's all about this deep rooted stuff. So one of the things you need is goals. So people talk about happiness, but happiness it's actually very superficial. And to everyone who's feeling happy at the moment, wishing you all the best of luck. Make the most of it, enjoy it, because happiness is something that is in a way fleeting. We have good times, bad times, and what's really important is things we remember in 10 years' time. And I think what drives us to get up in the morning is to have that goal, to make a difference. And that was probably what encouraged me, to apply for the said Hong Kong job. But it's good to know, so I can now sort of open the door to other opportunities. And that's why I think communication is so important. So it's such a small world. You find out who has the job sooner rather than later anyway. And we were talking about what we were doing for the Worlds. Well, I think I'm going to be running a very large coach regatta. So trying to work out how we spend lots of time practicing racing and not lots of time practicing starting. But that's something probably to be handled in the sailing instructions. But hope everyone enjoys the show. I should be able to make it on today. Questions always very welcome. And if there's anything that you would particularly like me to talk about, please let me know.
Great stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
I said to John, he gets around to all these exotic places, and then Lily comes and goes. She's covering, you know what she's doing now? She's covering Wimbledon for China radio, or slash, if the Chinese players do well enough, then she'll get on TV, but she's covering it for radio. And John is debating whether to keep going east to Gdynia for this next event, or whether to go home because it's the
Joiner
and join her at home and go to Wimbledon, and
Yeah.
he'll get some kind of a pass or a
Sure.
ticket. So it's busy times, and you have to make life decisions and carry on, right?
If
Lots
I
of-
were her, I'd take a tennis break.
You would,
Yeah.
if you were here. Well, I think that's what he said he's going to do. Go home, spend some time with his wife,
Yes.
and go watch some of Wimbledon. Lots of, and it sounds like Neil Collingridge is headed to Poland for this event. I meant he was hiking, and I definitely was not hiking due to the light winds. Yeah. Ken Saban checking in from the western end of Lake Erie. I skipped over, Julie, all those comments up there about the end of this Polish or the end of the Ukrainian-Russian stuff, or whether it is the end, but most of you don't think it's anywhere close. Groover making a comment. He is quite the beanpole. I guess they're talking about John. Bravo, John. Stingray agreeing with us. Yep. Terrific. Punt now, LO. No pun intended, though. Daniel Groen is very clever in English. I wonder, he must be ESL. He must be German language. He lives in Augsburg. Alistair Murray, I used to be friends with a Polish couple, but they split up there.
Poles apart.
Did you see that?
I did.
Oh, dear. Monica Diaz is a birthday girl. Hello, Monica. Welcome and congratulations and happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You see, John's, it's HDR. He's sending these videos now in HDR instead of SDR, and they're really, I mean, his files are getting bigger and bigger and looking better and better, but we can't handle HDR here quite yet. Well, it's enough that we're 1080p in 60 frames.
Yeah.
But enough of all that techno nerdy geeky stuff. Apparently seated with a fence for protection from traffic. Well done, John. Talking about John there.
Yes.
Away from the road. What else? Lots of comments. Hong Kong would have been fun. Lived there for a year or so, J. Frederick Bland said. I spent a fair bit of time in Hong Kong myself, and I'm not sure I'd want to live there, though. But especially now that they're under the control of the PRC. But one door closes, another opened up. He's got other things. And if anybody out there watching this show is looking for a very fine Olympic and successful Olympic coach, maybe here in the U.S., Julia.
Yes.
John is, he got plenty on his plate, but he might also take a good offer from a country or a private, a team or a squad of people. Julie Aaron's also wishing Monica a happy birthday. So we got bean poles and we got poles apart. We all have all sorts of pole jokes. Time probably to carry on here.
Yes.
And John Emmett Sailing, of course, get to the front of the fleet. He doesn't really sponsor that segment. He does it for nothing. We're delighted to have him do it. And he's just part of the team here now. And he says, please subscribe and share your own Facebook and YouTube pages if you're so inclined. Are the 505s coming to the bat? What do you mean by the bat? OK Dingy Worlds are going on. We're going to cover that. We got a nice video from the OK Dingy Worlds. 505 Worlds are coming to San Francisco here at the end of September. Stingray, as we get out of John's segment and get to the ocean race. I haven't been covering the VO65s much, but as you know, this race is now over. Except for the in-port race on the 1st of July. And it looks like that's not going to affect anything except, some fun and some promotion there in Genoa. But this race that started way back when in Alicante, went around to Cabo Verde, then down to Cape Town to visit Ted Ryman, then across the Southern Ocean and up around to Itajaí before going up to Newport, and then across the North Atlantic to Aarhus, the flyby Kiel to Den Haag, The Hague, and then this final leg from The Hague around the Iberian Peninsula and into the Med. Well, that looks a little light bluish turquoise-ish, that camera today. And it's now over. Now, the boats have finished. There's only one boat still on the track, and that's, of course, 11th Hour Racing, who are trying to get as fast as they sail and motor as fast as they can to Genoa for the festivities. But the final race The grand finale, the import race, is this Saturday, the 1st of July. We must say, we haven't been covering it much, but bravo Zulu to the team that won the VO65, and they won it convincingly. I mean, they won this last leg by heaps, and they've won the series, the so-called Sprint Cup, by heaps. I think they won virtually every leg, if not every leg. And this was, of course, Wind Whisper Racing team, the Wind Whisper Racing team from Poland, and they have won the VO65 Cup. And here is the video from the Ocean Race about all that.
It's a great feeling to win the race. We put a big effort in over the last 6-9 months, and bringing the youngsters, a few different crew members, and I think we pulled it together in speed and in navigation, everything. So it all come together. It's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, amazing feeling, and just so happy to be part of the team. Tan put together a great program, and I was lucky enough to take the handlebars for the last leg. Really appreciative, and it's a great result for everyone involved.
The boat is the first boat arriving here before the IMOCA. It's a very warm welcome, and it's great. No, I've been before just walking around the race villas, and it's amazing. It's super good organized, and it's really nice.
Very tricky grand final, because we all know that the Henrik Genova could be very, very light wind.
I think the crew has done a great job, and I feel so proud. I think we got a really good team, and we all work together towards this, and the team is super happy, and we got our goal, so it's good.
It's a teamwork, and the preparation for the boat, the equipment, and we had a good bit of experience for this leg, and the other two legs the same. I think they put a lot of time and thought into how to prepare the boat the best for the sprint cup. The objective was to win it, and that's what they wanted to do, and we've done it.
Winning the Vasco da Gama Mirapuri Foundation prize, of course, is fantastic. The prize will be given to me, but of course it's a team effort, so I will share it with the full team. The celebration today, I think, I don't know, but I'm sure it'll be a bit crazy. It all comes together. We've been pretty serious through the whole campaign, and we finished on the best note, so I'm sure it'll be a big celebration tonight that the short team have arranged for us.
Nice crowd there, Julia.
I continue with wasting all that good champagne.
I'm sure they drank some of it too. So bravo Zulu to them, to the Polish, the Wind Whisper Racing team, and we want to welcome while we're at it. The Foiling Week PRO is with Andrew Pindar in Malchesney, and we in Lake Garda, and we're going to run a little segment about Andrew under the Fozy Focus. In the D block, we're delighted to have a video from him. In fact, the reason we were a little late getting on the air because I couldn't get the video to quite play right.
Yeah.
But it's a terrific video. I finally got it to work. Bravo Zulu to them. And now, amazingly, we move to the IMOCAs. Amazingly, Malizia, who were behind by, better part of 100 miles, I think, at one point on this leg 7, in the final, last night and yesterday, in the last little bit, they went from, third to first, and Wholesome PRB went from first to third, and they've won this leg overall. That is Malizia. So your friend, Julia, Boris Hermann, who's, of course, German, from Hamburg originally. I knew him in Hamburg, and he's now representing, this is a Swiss team ostensibly, but here's the video on their leg 7 win.
31,000 nautical miles, 105 days at sea, and now we finish. We're probably going to win the leg.
Let's see. We have to finish it properly. The finish line just up ahead here for Boris Hermann and Team Malizia.
incredible to finish here in Genoa in the first place. We can't believe it, can we?
I still can't believe it. Like, there's no words. It was just, you know, amazing leg, amazing way to finish this. Yeah, last night when we saw the opportunity to kind of catch up, we just went for it.
Very happy, and we have the most sailors that did the whole race. The only female that did the entire lap around the planet, Rosie. And yeah, very proud of the team. They're just such an amazing team. It's a privilege to work with them.
Leg 7 winners from The Hague to Geneva, Team Valencia!
So a good atmosphere there. Biotherm, who were second for most of the leg. And the swap was between Wholesome PRB. It went from first to third. And as a couple of you said, it was a match race. I mean, this was Jonathan Frank said. It was really, is that Jonathan Frank who said that, Julia?
I think so.
And it was light air. And Wholesome PRB went offshore and the other two went inshore and found some breeze that Wholesome PRB offshore did not find. So Bravo Zulu to Boris Herman, Julia's favorite sailor, after what, Paul Kayard?
Oh, Paul Kayard
Huh?
will always be my movie star.
Your movie star. Well, this guy's got movie star good looks too. Huh?
More than
Boris
just looks.
Herman is,
Yeah.
and he's a smart guy and a good sailor. Nice guy too. I didn't know him real well in Hamburg, but we did meet several times and it was good fun. Now we go to Clark Chapin's slides and you can see here how they swapped at the end.
Mm.
The yellow boat coming into the lead, finishing first, Malizia, and then Biotherm, the blue boat, were in second place with coming across the Orion Wholesome PRB on top until just the bitter end here.
Oh, gosh.
At 0600 on the 27th this morning even. So it's quite a change of the result right at the end. Take some heat off the jury, I think. Some of you said the same. You can see the speeds, how down speed. This is Clark's average, the VMC of the leader on the seventh leg from Den Haag to Genova. So that, the average speed at the end was, the VMC rather, was 6 and almost, almost 7 knots, but still under 7 knots. So it was pretty amazing. Thanks, Clark Chapin, for providing those charts through this entire race. Now that it's finally over, except for the shouting. And the shouting is going to come on Thursday when that redress hearing happens and the whatever the outcome of that is, which is one of the reasons we're doing a show on Friday to discuss that. And Clark, by the way, is coming on as our live guest in our Michigan studio. Our Michigan studio, Julia.
Oh, yes.
So that will be on Friday at the normal time at 1300 Pacific, 1600 Eastern, and so on. Thanks, Clark, for your help. Here is the official race report. The last one. It's a confusing picture, they said, as the Amoca fleet crawls towards the finish in Genoa. The boats are experiencing extreme light airs, and overnight there have been multiple place changes. Team Malizia were the big winners as they sailed from third to first. There was more wind closer to the shore.
That explains that.
Biotherm maintained second place as Team Wholesome PRB, the furthest offshore, trailed the group.
I will tell you the perfect strategy after the finish, when you know the story.
Out of the VO65's Wind Whisper Racing, as you know, crossed the line more than 24 hours ahead of the rest of the VO65 fleet. A similar turnaround in the VO65 fleet as Viva Mexico dropped from second to third, and Team Jajo followed the same, close to the shore. Mirpuri Trifork lost some distance out to sea, and Austrian Ocean Racing, powered by Team Genova, still struggling with a broken whatever that was. Thanks to all race reports, signing off for the 14th edition of the Ocean Race.
They did a good job of video coverage of that.
Oh, they did, but it's obviously the viewership is way down, as several of you have said.
Yeah.
And we'll go to those comments in a sec because there's some pretty seriously negative comments on this whole thing by Daniel Augsburg and Jeff Waller and a few others. But that's it for the race reports. This race is over on Saturday after the in-port race there, which is for fun and promotion. Now, you're going to ask, what's the deal with 11th Hour Racing? Well, there they are on the chart.
Going 0 knots.
Well, they're really, as we explained on the Friday show.
They're just not tracking them.
They're just not tracking it, and they're not publicizing. They're tracking them, but not publicizing the speed because of a software issue. So they're off off of Spain, the Minorca, Majorca, and so on, heading up to Genoa. But they when they programmed the race tracker software, if a boat was in port and had retired, either RET or what was the other? Suspended.
Yeah.
I guess they grade them out so that, they weren't officially racing. So that's what's happened, even though they are moving. And to try to reprogram it, they said was just too difficult. So that's where 11th Hour Racing is. And you're all going to ask, well, are they going to get there in time for the hearing on Thursday? It doesn't look like they are, but we have have a bit of a one here's for you on who's going to represent the team at the hearing. This is a photo from a couple days ago. They put a story out on their website. That is the 11th Hour Racing website. Francesca Klopsic from Italia takes a quick nap, and they ran a nice story about, they can't get too fussed about things they can't have any control over. We're trying not to lose sleep over what we can't control, was the headline on that story yesterday. That this image photo.
A good picture, though.
It is a nice picture, and it's, of course, demonstrative, I guess, of what they're feeling and going through. The IMOCA standings, Wholesome PRB on top now with 34 points on the, having finished third. They picked up a couple points. 11th Hour Racing, without racing on this leg, is on 33 points, as you all know. Malizia now on 32 points, and Biotherm on 23, and of course Guillot, which had all sorts of problems in this regatta, in this series of legs, in this race, in this ocean race. They're down at the bottom with only 2 points in the whole bloody race. Unbelievable.
And all those heartaches.
And a lot of heartaches. And of course, they knocked, by their own admission, they knocked 11th Hour Racing out of this last leg. So that's the overall standings. And you will all know, too, that the import race standings have 11th Hour Racing, irrespective of what happens, is coming Saturday. 11th Hour Racing is going to finish ahead of Wholesome PRB, even if they don't get there in time to race in that race, which it looks increasingly unlikely that they will. That is, 11th Hour will not get there. So it really doesn't matter, because I and Clark and others of you think they're going to get
redress,
right,
Julia?
They have to. They should. They certainly should. So here is, I'm not going to play the video again. We've seen that too many times. And from that prank, when Guillot Environment crashed in on port tack, crashed into the port side of 11th Hour Racing, who were on starboard tack. And according to the release today from the Ocean Race, that says, and this means the overall, they're commenting on the overall results now, that the overall leaderboard for the IMOCA fleet in the Ocean Race remains provisional, awaiting the request for redress that has been filed by 11th Hour Racing Team after being hit just after the start by Guillot Environment, Team Europe, who acknowledged responsibility for the incident. The World Sailing International jury will hear the redress request on Thursday. With today's results, Charlie Enright's 11th Hour Racing Team is just 1 point behind Team Wholesome PRB. So any award of redress of 1 point or more will give the team overall victory in the Ocean Race, because if they only get 1 point and they end up tied, the tiebreak, of course, is the import series, and they're going to finish. They, 11th Hour, will finish ahead of Wholesome PRB in that, irrespective of what happens on Saturday and whether or not 11th Hour makes it in time. Now, who is going to represent the team at the hearing? Because skipper Charlie Enright is on the yacht, and he's never intended, apparently, to leave the yacht. And their CEO, Mark Towell, who's a very bright guy and a great sailor, he is going to rep the team, one hears, at Thursday's redress hearing. And you can quote me, because I will tell you that although Skipper Charlie Enright likely won't make the hearing, and he'd like to, I'm sure, but he likely won't, I am sure, ITFE am sure that CEO Mark Towell will be a more than capable substitute.
Was he on the boat?
He was not. He's been following the boat port to port as they go. He was on the boat last. He may have sailed a leg, or even two. I can't remember now. But he was on the boat last time, and for the last race when the two of them, really, they're partners. Charlie and Mark have been partners in this endeavor, in this effort for some time. Both bright guys, both good sailors, collegiate and otherwise, here in this country. So one hears Mark will represent them Thursday at the hearing.
That's good.
Now, I also talked to our rules and race management expert, Clark Chapin, this morning again, and asked him, what would you do if you were the jury? And he said, if I were the international jury, using the guidance in Rule A9, I would award 11th Hour Racing 4.7 points for leg 7, which is the average of their scores for legs 1 through 6, round to the nearest tenth of a point, discounting the double points for leg 5, Newport to Aarhus. Now, others would actually not discount that and give them as many as 5.5, I think is the number, if you count those double point legs as 2 separate legs. But Clark says, no, you don't have to do that. Keep it simple. Don't get anybody's you-know-what's in an uproar over giving them too many points. In other words, in calculating the average, their score for that leg was 5, not 10, he's saying, even though there was a gate. I also counted the scoring gate in leg 3 separately. This gives them a final score of 37.7 points. Wholesome PRB has 34, and Team Elitsia has 32. When all's said and done, according to Clark. And that hearing is Thursday, and that's why Clark will be our live guest. I'm going to be in Michigan, at our Michigan studio. Remember, we did that last summer as well. It was fun. So Clark's going to come along, and we'll do a show at the normal time on Friday, mostly to discuss. I'm not going to prepare a big, long show because I'm trying to take a bit of a break here, a holiday break with my family in Michigan. But we will do a live show Friday and analyze, with the help of Clark and the rest of you, what's actually happened with this redress. And if they don't give them redress, even 1 point, which is enough, but if they don't give them at least 1 point, there's going to be hell to pay, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine that they don't give them redress?
No.
I can't either. I could have made a corrector crutonic. What do you all think is going to happen? We'll see. So that's what's going on. Let's go to the comments, because
I just want to make another point about
please.
Clark and his charts have been really good, and nobody else has those.
It's a Sailing Illustrated exclusive.
It is. It is.
Thank you, Clark.
That ought to be used in the hearing. Yeah. All right.
Well, okay. So where are these comments? They're talking about the OK Worlds, and pretty confident it'll be won by an ex-Finn sailor, probably. Jonathan Frank, so crazy that circumnavigation was determined by match racing skills. Yeah, probably. Daniel Grun, now he's fairly critical of the current ownership and the current race. He says, TOR, the ocean race is on life support. Fans of the race got screwed because the race is decided in the jury room. Richard Brecius is incapable, this is one of the co-owners, Swedish co-owner, incapable of running a good event. Bring back Mark Turner. So says Daniel Grun. John Emmett saying that now Lily, I believe, will be observing at the jury room. So it sounds like she's going to Genoa. Maybe she's there already, and I misunderstood John this morning, but I thought she was in the UK. Daniel Grun replies again. He says, the coverage of the race compared to 2017-18 was way down. U.S. fans got screwed because they don't have Eurosport Plus or Discovery, notwithstanding that a U.S. team won. Good point, Daniel, or appears to have won. Agree with Daniel Grun. Jeff is saying, Jeff Waller, World on Water, agree with Daniel Grun, the Aussie, our Aussie friend. Nice to see you, Jeff, on here. Agree with Daniel Grun, we got a copyright strike, World on Water, as we played a vid of the Cape Town start. We have dropped off promoting it. Yeah, well, that's the problem when you get this TV coverage from somebody like Eurosport, and they are really aggressive about enforcing those sorts of things. Coverage of the race on YouTube was more than good enough. We're still not sure who Fog Machine is, right, Julia? Is that David?
I don't think
who
so.
it is.
I don't know.
J. Frederick Bland, Boomer. Boomer is saying lots of coaching opportunities. The weather is not typical, and a good part of the fleet is GBR. 2 Den boats were leading after 2 races. He's talking about the OK Dinghy Worlds. Yeah, TOR has never been on TV or any major U.S. outlet. True. Even when Kayard won it, even when Don Riley was racing in it, or Dennis Conner was racing it. Nice of them to finish during daylight. Makes for better video, Clark says.
Yes.
Rosie is the best. The only woman to do every leg, Steve Gruber saying. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. That's what they
nice.
said. Yeah,
nice.
That's good.
Nice stuff. Lily likes it when they finish in the day, too. Bravo, Rosie.
Yes.
Indeed, Monica Diaz. If anyone sees her, give her a big hug for all of us. We're just very proud of her. And nobody is better looking or sexier than Paul Kayard, with or without the mustache, Julia.
Yes, I read that. Thank you.
Julia, did you read that comment?
I did.
Out loud?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting, but you
okay. Well,
you beat me to it.
Okay.
I have to agree.
Keep going. What other comments do you agree with her?
Of course.
Kayard's not my type. I like Kayard. I've been to war with him, but he is a leader of men and women, though, that guy is.
He is.
So is I think Mr. Herman Boris is as well.
Yes,
Best thing about Genoa, the little train that runs through the coastal tunnels to Vernazza. Stingray is saying. Yeah, Jeff Waller's right. Mark Towell, their CEO, will represent them, as we said. I heard that this morning from a source who will remain unnamed, but a very reliable and good source, longtime friend.
Mm-hmm.
Neil Collingridge, talking about this race, he said, the ocean race, it's the first time, if I don't know how long I've hardly bothered to follow it, maybe down to personalities, but most likely because there just aren't enough boats to make it interesting. The VO65 is only doing a couple of legs is a nonsense. I agree. We didn't cover the VO65s until just now, right? The last little bit. Right. It's meant to be a round-the-world race. Yeah, and there was a bit of Orca coverage still going on clickbait websites here in the U.S. about that. And Orca is attacking 2 boats in the ocean race. And, of course, the headline in Scuttlebutt, Orca attacks the ocean race.
Yes.
Like there was some kind
There were a couple more this week, I think I sent to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bring on the Vendée Globe. 30 solo IMOCAs nonstop around the world and the world's best sailors. Good point, Jeff. Thank you. The race is on life support. Daniel Gurn thinks the IMOCA. Let's hope it resuscitates. I mean, things go up and down. These guys are smart guys. Maybe they'll get us. They didn't have a sponsor this time, remember? They didn't have Volvo. So the fact they got through this in one piece is probably what's obviously yada yada. Lots of comments here. What's Dan Knox? Hello, Dan Knox. I enjoy the race and the coverage. I try not to worry about the ratings of the coverage. I pretty much looked at the tracker every day, as did I, Dan. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it was quite as bad as Daniel Grun is saying. It suffered some setbacks. And
one has to appreciate the effort in any case.
Indeed.
It's just huge. And I've done some offshore stuff, and this is about 20 times longer.
Well, for sure. Alistair Murray says a monkey could represent them and they will still get redress. I hope you're right. I agree with Clark. He also makes great charts. That's from one engineer, an auto engineer, retired auto engineer, to another. Keep it simple. It establishes a good precedent, Steve Atkins saying, yeah. Mm-hmm. The representative does not need to be on the boat. Correct, Clark Chapin. Unless it's a boat-to-boat protest hearing about Part 2, meaning boat-to-boat rules, which, they don't do that. How can you not give redress, Steve Gruber's saying? And Dan Knox, we all agree with you. No one cares what they get as long as they get at least 1 point. Dan would give them 4 points. Philip Laffin. Hello, Philip. Good afternoon from Davis Island. Maybe he's Davis Island Yacht Club. 11th Hour and Wind Whisper have ignited interest in both a true following the sport needs. Okay, interesting. Comment from Philip Laffin. Thank you for that. Clark's replying, Stephen Almeida. Hi, Stephen. I would think that to go at least. They'd have to go at least 1 point. Stephen Almeida is a famously
give
good,
at least.
To give at least. Thank you, Julia. Stephen is a famously good photographer who supplies for us here. He's got some nice photos from Block Island for us as well that I'll probably run on a Friday. And say hi to your wife, Michelle. Stephen, thank you. If she's on here watching as well. The 30-minute import and leg pre-start shows were completely edited out in the YouTube broadcast. Yeah, understand that. Amazing legs by Rosie. Stingrays all saying. Julie Aaron's making a pithy comment there. I'm all for orca racing. Graham Sweeney is saying. Graham, did you tell us in the comments, did they ever figure out if an orca up your way, up in northern Scotland, it really did go after a boat, or was that BS? Because you didn't seem to think it really happened when I talked to you or texted with you over the weekend and late last week. Okay, so much for the ocean race, going once, going twice. That's the end of that. And we will know on Friday what the result of, I assume we will. I'll probably know Thursday. But we'll have a show on Friday with Clark to analyze, our analyst, Clark Chapin, analyze the redress result. Should be all over but the shouting, as we've been saying for weeks. Okay, now the Governor's Cup. This is our featured segment today. Balboa Yacht Club's prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship. It's in its 56th year with a record 8 nations. And it's fabulous to see these young sailors. I've been talking with them because I'm teeing up the interviews with Andy and also with Matt Whitfield, as we did last year and the year before. We did the so-called Road to the Governor's Cup. And we're interviewing the kids. This year, we're actually going to do the 3 Aussies together because we're a little compressed. We're a little short of time, and it's easier and I think more fun, Julia, to have 3 sailors with Andy and myself rather than just one.
Yeah.
A little more fun, a little more relaxed. So that's the plan. Also, we're hoping to have the other 2. We're going to do Jeffrey Petersen today. We recorded that on Sunday. And then we're going to have that graphic is not correct. Jack Egan is not in there, and the Rose Cup winner has been determined. I'll fix that graphic. That's my fault, not the regatta's fault.
Jack Egan
has a conflict, and he qualified, but he is not coming. And instead, we're going to have Morgan Pinkney. And Justin Callahan, who did well at the Rose Cup this past weekend. They are qualifying in those 2 slots, one replacing Jack Egan and one down at the bottom where it says Rose Cup winner.
Yeah.
Well, the Rose Cup winner also is not available, and that's where Justin Callahan will come in. So it's cool stuff. And Andy and I caught up with Jeffrey Petersen, who was at that beautiful lake, Lago de Ledro, on the northwestern end side, tip off to the northwest of Lago di Garda, Lake Garda, and we caught up with Jeffrey.
Was he racing?
He was racing in the World Match Racing Tour.
How'd he do?
4th.
Okay.
So not one of his most auspicious results, but he sailed well. It was kind of light and fluky at times, but we did a nice long interview with Jeffrey, and here it is. Enjoy. This is the first edition of Road to the Governor's Cup for 2023. The Gov Cup, of course, the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship, hosted annually by the Balboa Yacht Club down in Newport Beach, California. And delighted to have with us Gov Cup guru Andy Rose, as usual, for the first of what we hope are 12 of these, with each of the 12 sailors who will eventually be making it to Gov Cup. And Jeffrey Petersen, former winner, won a couple of years ago, and we're catching up with Jeffrey in Italy, of all places, Lago de Ledro. Welcome, both of you. Andrew?
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here, and it's great to start this series again. We had a lot of fun with that last year.
Jeffrey, what are you doing in Italy?
Yeah, we're doing some match racing out here, hopefully getting ready for the Governor's Cup and try to climb the World Match Race Tour leaderboard. So we're out here in Lago de Ledro in northern Italy, competing on a very small lake, but a very beautiful lake nonetheless, and competing at some of the world's finest sailors.
Well, you're right up near the north end of the bigger Lago di Garda, Lake Garda, at a place called the Associazione Vela Lago de Ledro, which is a cool-looking little club, and what is a beautiful lake. From the pictures I've seen, I've not been there, but tell us about this regatta.
Yeah, well, it's certainly been a fantastic event. The association's done a fantastic job of running a great regatta in what could only really be described as very tricky conditions. It would not be our typical Champagne shaling that we get out in Newport Beach with, a 10 knot westerly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's been fantastic. You can see from the pictures, it's gorgeous. Green mountains on all sides, and a very stacked lineup. I think there were 11 teams and 8 countries represented, 3 French teams. It was a fantastic regatta. Really, it was a lot of really tough racing. We had great moments and a couple of not so great moments, including today. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a tough day for us ending out the third and final day of the regatta. We came fourth. So we're pretty happy about that. 4th out of 11 in this kind of field is pretty good for a new venue for us in, J22s, which is a platform similar to us. But yeah, we definitely feel like we left a little bit on the table, but we're excited with how much we were able to learn, and we are, holding our heads high from that performance and looking forward to getting back out to Newport Beach and racing for that beautiful cup again.
Tell us about your crew that you had with you.
Yeah, absolute star-studded lineup. Thankful for these boys, Max Mayo and Daniel Pegg to the left of me there in that photo. They're the real heroes. I just sit back there and hold a tiller at the end of the day. I really don't do all that much, but these are the guys out there putting in, serious amount of effort. Every time we came around the weather mark and hoisted, we gained a boat length. Every time we got to the leeward mark, we gained a boat length, just because these guys were so good in the front of the boat. Yeah, they're fantastic. They're actually over there listening to me now and all smiling and looking at me. But yeah, it was a fantastic week, and I was really, really grateful to have those boys on board. And
Jeffrey, what would you say to them if they weren't sitting right there? What would you say about them?
There's a couple things, but I probably shouldn't say them on live TV.
You said it was quite fluky, and you, of course, on those alpine lakes, it's not unlike the lake I grew up in Michigan, where it can go from literally nothing to 12, 15, sometimes more.
Yeah, it's definitely been a tricky bit. I think we're up at just a little over 8,000 feet of elevation, so we're pretty far up there and up surrounded on all 4 sides by mountains. So it's been very tricky, but there is a very nice prevailing easterly that comes through, and sometimes it's blowing forward, and then the same rate conditions that a lot of that are pretty familiar with any lake that we get to sail on. So it made it really challenging. There were races where we were ahead by 6 lengths or mark. And so it's, it proved to be very tricky racing, better at in our game in the shifts, but we've really a lot of great learning, and we had some really brilliant moments too, to make it into the semifinals. Was a clutch win in the last race of the round robin. Every team's been really good, and every team's shown that they are here to compete and that they can throw down with the best of them. And it's been a fantastic weekend so far.
So you're done. This is Sunday night when we're recording this. This is the 25th of June. So you're spending another week in Europe before another regatta you're headed to where in Sweden?
Yeah, so we're hanging out for a week. It was actually just a little bit more cost effective to stay in Italy for the week, or stay at least across the pond, before we go up to race at the GKSS Match Cup in Marstrand, Sweden, which is one of the 4 grade WC or world. Very, very excited to be racing at one of the big events. It's been regarded as the Con Cup of Sweden, and it's the first year that it's really coming back as a true match racing regatta in monohulls. They used to run it in the M32 for a while, and if you don't know me, I'm not a huge fan of the catamarans. Not really my boat. I like boats that go 6 knots upwind and 6 knots downwind. That seems to be really my speed, except, in the case of the